Points. Kia ora, welcome back. So at this point, we're at item number 10 on our agenda for today, is the valedictory speeches of the outgoing elected members of the council. And we've drawn straws on this. and Councillor Wills is going to be first here today to present his valedictory speech. So the floor is yours, Councillor Wills. Kia ora.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for that drawing experience. I'd like to thank the people who showed their support by electing me. I'd also like to thank the council management and staff. We had a rocky start, but I think it settled down and then we got on to have a constructive working relationship. So thank you, management and team. I know I was a bit bolshy when I first came in and a bit demanding, and Mr. Maris is looking down at his paper because he knows what I'm talking about. But anyway, we settled down. I know I've done a lot of good work in the council, mostly out of sight or behind the scenes. That's where a lot of the council work does get done. Thank you to the fellow councillors. We have not always agreed and have had times we've argued passionately our views, but managed by and large to maintain a functional operating environment. So thank you. And thank you for putting up with me. We've had some great wins as a council that I'm proud of. The Poto tar ceiling, a reduction in the east versus west rhetoric that I inherited when I first came on board. We've had the finances in a better state. Our audit report giving us a clean bill of health. But most importantly to me is that we've helped return confidence in the council. I'm leaving a number of unfinished jobs. That's the nature of the role. I pushed hard to find a way forward on managing the Rapiro Beach in a way that will allow everyone to enjoy the beach. I trust council staff will continue to support the Te Kopu Development Group in their efforts to turn a dead piece of ground into a facility that would make Te Kopu proud of themselves. In my area, the Tangaroa Sports Complex is rising literally from the ashes under the leadership of Jan Beattie and her team. The Poto Wharf that is now finally under construction and the flow-on benefit to the locals. Speed management plans that will ensure Bailey's Beach residents will feel safer on their roads. I'm going from this meeting down to Poto Point to spend the night. A place I've been going to for nearly 60 years. A chance to quietly reflect on being a councillor. I have enjoyed my time on council, and who knows, you may well see me show up again somewhere in governance. Thank you all.
Two minutes, 50 seconds.
Done.
Thank you. Councillor Withy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, this is quite an interesting time for me. I never thought for a minute I was going to end up spending 6 years in local government. However, I got an interest back in 2014-15 after being invited to be community representative on a wastewater project by the then Chief Commissioner, and that gave me a desire to do something for the district. And I remember at that time, it was quite interesting because we're in an election cycle now, but at that stage I look back at my old billboard and it says, vote for me, a fresh start for Kaipara. A fresh start for Kaipara. And then what was I going to do? Putting Kaipara on a solid foundation, an efficient and effective council, responsible financial policies, future-proofing growth and community with planned and responsible infrastructure, consultation, collaboration, communication, transparency and accountability. And when I look at those, I thought, well, you know, we've actually gone a long way up the scale on just about every one of those indicators. And I don't think if I went out today on that, I wouldn't get elected because I've got to say, I'm going to fix the roads. I'm going to fix the Mangawhai wastewater plant. And I've got a new plant that I've invested in. And all these incredible statements that are being made out there in the electioneering that's going on, and bland things like that, which are really the hub of council work, to make sure our decisions are well balanced, made on good information, and are quality decisions. So I'm pretty proud that at least I contributed to what I believe was a very effective council. We started off in a very, very rocky position. And those of you who weren't there back in October 2016, when we swore our oath of office and then realised what we'd got ourselves into, probably most of us thought we should have run for the hills at that stage. But we struggled on. And when I think of where we've gone from then to now, it's a real big leap. Financially, the standing in the community, the achievement of some of these capital projects, which, you know, back 6 years ago, we weren't even thinking about doing the sort of projects that we've tackled in the last few years, albeit with help from government funding. But, you know, there's been a couple of high points. I suppose the two high points for me, I guess, were getting support for that notice of motion to get B&A into the structural review of how we did our consenting, and that gave Louise an opportunity to use that as a platform to change the way council staff operate, the organisation, the culture shift. That's been incredible, and it's certainly shown through in my email box and telephone calls from irate community residents who seem to be a lot more placid these days. And the other one is thanks to both staff and also everyone around the table for getting across the line the Mangawhai sports and recreational land purchase, which I think is a significant and probably one of the most significant decisions we've made, and is going to be a huge benefit in the community. But the other highlight, I guess, is having been able to interact and work with not only the elected members around the table here, but also some really good people on staff. Louise has got a good team, has made a big difference. Boy, she wouldn't have even applied for Kaipara District Council. It was like that back in 2016 when we got involved. And we've got a completely different organisation now, and I just hope that we can hold it together over these next few years, which are going to be quite different, quite changing, and people who are in the organisation, both elected members and staff alike, are going to have to be effective at change management. Otherwise, it's going to be a difficult one to get. I've also met a lot of very, very interesting people across the community, whether it be Bailey's Beach, Dargaville, Ruawai. They all seem to find my phone number when they had a problem with a building or a resource consent for some reason or not. But that's been good, and I've seen a lot of Kaipara, which I probably wouldn't have otherwise. It's been an interesting 6 years, and I'm sure I'll fill the time from now on just as effectively. That I've enjoyed the time, and thank you and all around the table and staff. And Louise, thank you very much. It's been a great ride for me, and I hope everyone feels that I've at least made some contribution towards the overall effort. Thank you.
Councillor Curnow.
Okay, I better crack into it. I'm very tired, so I am going to read. Over the last 6 years, I've attended around 66 council meetings, give or take, and at least as many committee meetings, briefings, workshops, and countless informal meetings that all help to smooth the way. I'm not even going to try to estimate how many pages of agenda this month's council meeting alone is 472 pages. That's a lot of alone time staring at a screen, trying to absorb often complex issues. Suffice to say, it hasn't been the highlight of my time as an elected member. What really stands out for me are the conversations with my colleagues and with more importantly, yes, with the community. Those opportunities to really listen, to get to grips with what's actually being asked, to test and check, and then to progress knowing what's expected. Those are the moments that I will cherish. And yes, even the pothole complaints will have a place in my heart. Why? Because there's nothing I like more than a problem with many facets. And most of our problems here at council are problems that have layers of complexity, regulation, budget, community aspirations, political drivers, resource issues. You get the picture. The thing about the kind of problems we deal with is that they're only problems because of how they affect people. So there's the nub of it. In this job, you get to fix problems for people, and I've loved that part of the job. A real highlight for me was the spatial planning. I'm so happy that I was able to attend so many of the sessions across the district and to hear the hopes and dreams of so many people who live in Kaipara. Those opportunities to hear directly from people and to open the floor for them to set the direction that suits them are how I see us rebuilding trust and community. I want to thank the planning team for inviting council to go down this path. It was eye and heart opening for me. I also want to thank the team for leaning into making this the basis of the new district plan. And I want to thank all those in the community who engaged with the process, sharing their ideas, wisdom, plans, hopes, dreams to help council to do a better job of planning for all of our futures. We've been on a long journey, several of us, for 6 years. My journey started even earlier. My first experience of local government was a public meeting in Mangawhai just after the commissioners were appointed. I admit publicly that it terrified me. I had never experienced that level of anger and hatred directed at the commissioners and by default me. But working with the commissioners was an extraordinary experience and in some ways an amazing chance to learn local government, in other ways no preparation at all. I witnessed vigorous debates about whether we should stop mowing parks or stop spending money on roads altogether. I witnessed the despair of staff who knew they couldn't do their jobs if there wasn't any funding. But I also learnt so much. So I do want to thank the commissioners, John Robertson, Peter Winder and Richard Booth, for teaching me how to value the community, how to make tough decisions and how to deal with hard critical feedback when people don't agree with you. Those are skills that have proved invaluable as my time as an elected member. The last 6 years have seen council turning a corner. Changing the direction of an organisation takes time, effort and skill, which brings me to Louise, the CE that we recruited nearly 5 years ago. She arrived to a council that had had 3 CEs and 3 mayors, some acting, in the space of 18 months. The organisation was stressed and debt was still a big issue. Louise transformed the culture into one that focused on service to the community while also nurturing its people. COVID and the rapid changes in local government have tested it beyond anything we could have expected. But thanks to Louise's leadership, supported by the exec team, the organisation has been able to keep serving. It has been an honour to work with Louise and her team. Finally, to my colleagues, it's been a blast. We've had some great debates, made some courageous decisions, and kept our eyes on the ball. I'm proud of what we've achieved, as there will always be, there's much more to be done, but I have real confidence that the next council has a solid base to work on. Before I finish, I want to also thank the Mayor. It's been great working with you. Real evidence that you don't always have to agree to work well together. But seriously, thanks for all your support and for believing in me. So it is with gratitude that I move on and wish the next council and the next mayor the very best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Right. In the spirit of that, the last of these, it comes to me. And so I'm going to start with an ancient quote. It's from Theodore Roosevelt. Some of you may have heard it before, but I'm going to be reading my speech as well. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. The reason I mention that is because, to me, when I started here 4.5 years ago, I was pitching myself into the most extraordinary thing that I had no idea what it was. Yes, I'd been on the council before as a staff person and worked in the building across the road, but I had thought that governance was fixed and sweet. I had thought that the debt was completely resolved and absolutely an easy thing to do. I thought that the councillors were functioning well and that the staff were all functioning harmoniously. When I arrived as the mayor, as a rookie mayor, okay, with a council that was already established and opened the cupboard, I went, oh no, this is not what I had expected it to be. And look at the transformations that we've all been on since that time. Because Kaipara District Council has been through all of the worst possible storms. And if they asked me, I could write a book. The governance story here is second to none in all of New Zealand for the journey that the elected members have been on and taken the council on from zero to hero, really, in these last 2 terms. It's really, really significant, very, very significant. As I've said before, the greatest achievement of this council has been that it's actually still here, because there were so many forces pitched against it, especially in that period when I started in 2018 and in the period prior to that, 2016, 2017 as well. So COVID has been an enormous challenge in recent times, but this council has gone on with extraordinary capital works program of success right across the district. We've got bridges and we've got shared paths and we've got roads, we've got wharves that we could never have done just out of rates as a small council. Of course, Kaipara District Council now has grown up to be a bona fide real council, and that's a quote from Pinocchio, really, regarding our engagement across Northland with all of the important groups and fora and the rest of the local government scene in Northland. Kaipara District Council now stands shoulder to shoulder with the other councils, though being much smaller in size. So inside the Northern Transportation Alliance, which now has the Unsealed Road Network Centre of Excellence, they wouldn't have had without us, without Kaipara. Yeah, the successes of the Mayoral Forum and the agreement for the Whanona Ki Taurangi agreement with the iwi leaders, Te Kahua Taunui of the North, that Kaipara District signed. Not all of the councils in Northland signed, but Kaipara District signed. Of course, we've been working regionally on climate change, and of course, it was a real honour and a catalyst for me to be on the government's Three Waters Working Group representing the councils of Northland, and that was a key moment for me in my development as a person in the governance space. But those engagements across Northland, Kaipara District Council now is in a great space with those things. In 2001, when I started here, it wasn't in a great space regarding engagement across the North. So the achievements of the staff that have been coming, and we're seeing this very much in the annual report, such as in huge success in the Building Control Authority space, where Kaipara District Council is held up now as the national leader for how to do Building Control Authority work. Again, a few years ago, local government New Zealand just went, oh, pity Kaipara, can't do any of these things. We are now seen as the leaders here. This is significant. We have a wonderful building consent and resource consent processing system now, which is the envy of many and all of the other councils in the North. Our roading is starting to work. We have this glowing audit report from today. We have a spatial plan. We have an exposure draft for the district plan. Look how far you've come, Kaipara. As I've mentioned before, the fish rots from the head. And Kaipara District Council was in huge trouble in the past because of governance-related challenges. And that comes from what happens around this table. So I would like to acknowledge and thank all of the elected members of this council and the council prior to this one, with whom I also worked, for trusting in me and trusting in yourselves and bringing your best selves to this table to make the best decisions possible for the people we all represent out there. Because councils are decision-making bodies, that's all they do. That's what they do, is make good decisions. And one of the great measures of that for us now is that the Auditor General doesn't ring me anymore about the decisions of the council. We've come a long way, Kaipara. This is like extraordinary achievements. And I am so happy and so proud for all of that. We've built trust of the community in the council. We've built transparency, engagement, communications and performance results, all of which have come from the extraordinary work of Louise and her team, led by the executive leadership team. And that fish rots from the head bit, you turn that around the other way and you say the successful leadership of the staff of the council being led so capably by Louise, who joined us in 6 months time as the mayor, is so important to me. And the appointment of you was made 2 months into my time as mayor. And then we had to wait for a bit through a very further challenging time while the rest of the momentum of the council was waiting latently to be released. And Louise, you have brought extraordinary things to this council, and the team that you have created through the entire organisation, so it's all the people out there, all right, has been extraordinary because you have reflected back to the entire community out there as well, what our community needs and wants with the limited resources that we have. And that is a truly great gift. So thank you so much for what you have achieved with us. Mr. Maris, again, I come back to the key governance related matters here around this table. I'm sure we would have been wrecked on the rocks of poor governance without your guidance and leadership. So thank you from myself to you for all of the support that you've provided to me regarding governance and taught me so much about how to chair these meetings, because I'm going to share with you a great confidence at this point. And Councillor Curnow, this comes back to you, to a public meeting before I was elected. And this is a public meeting in Ruawai, Meet the Candidates evening. And this is about trust, if you like, the trust of the people, and or how much I and we have all had to learn here, particularly me. And so thank you all for your trust in me and the training from Mr. Maris here. Councillor Curnow, you asked what governance experience I had. Oh, you asked it of all the candidates at the Meet the Candidates at the by-election. You're nodding, I can see you nodding. And I flummed my way through the answer on that. I didn't say that when I'd last been involved in governance, but it was 13 years before when I had last chaired a meeting. And so those of you who were at my first meeting might remember there were some very awkward moments because I actually didn't know how to close. All those in favour, please raise your hand and say aye, because I'd forgotten that in the intervening years. So I confess that. That's a complete confessional. So when I say rookie mayor, I'm being absolutely honest with you all there about who I was and the faith and trust that the people of Kaipara put in me. Because I think they could see a student who was ready to learn how to do that. All right. But the important thing for me is that I've worked very, very hard here to make Kaipara District Council the best it can be, to raise its profile so that we can get as much money as we possibly can from as many external sources as we possibly can to grow a better Kaipara and make this place great for the people and the residents who live here. That's been my key goal, keeping the confidence and trust in this council. And I absolutely believe that we have done that. Absolutely believe that we have done that. And there's no I in team when it comes to this. We have done this. This is decisions of all of the council and the key part of the council as well, including all of our staff and officers. Special thanks to Peter for your support of me during my first term when you were Deputy Mayor, and your grace and great leadership that you provided to me during that time. Thank you. And I'm delighted about the Ehrlich Sport Field opportunity that's come through now, and your great legacy that you leave with that. Thank you. And Anna, you mentioned about the number of millions of hours and pages and whatever that you've worked through in your role here. I know that without your work and governance, we would have achieved only a fraction of what we've achieved as a council. And that's from me as the mayor, regarding your significant service. Thank you. To the councillors who are continuing on, wishing you very great service and good wishes for what is ahead. Because for Kaipara District Council right now, the platform is set and it's absolutely in a good place. It is absolutely in a good place. This is very different to where it was 2 terms ago or 1 term ago. This is now a very trusted council. And so I'm leaving really happy in the knowledge that we have built a platform during this time that all of us together, which is a platform on which the next council will be able to dance and to achieve their things in their time. 21 years ago, in the room just out there, I had my porphyry as the Chief Executive of Kaipara District Council, Kaipara District's Economic Development Agency. Sorry.
So you're going for the job?
No. Kaipara District's Economic Development Agency. 21 years ago, my porphyry just here in the foyer. And so I think now at 21 years on, I think I've come of age. And it's time for me to move on. So thank you everyone for the most amazing, wonderful journey of good bits and bad bits. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Kaipara District Council goes on into the next. But I know that, damn, we've given it a damn good bashing and it's fantastic. Loving you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And at this point, we have some trees that are going to be being presented to the departing, retiring councillors at this point. So I'll do that.
I get your trees.
I'll do that.
Still got the big comedy growth rate.
Thank you.
After all the roads, but stabilise a bank.
Thank you. So of course, we're giving Kauri trees because they're all going to last 1,000 years. So,
Do you have long life pills that go?
Strong like a Cody.
congratulations, thank you.
Thank you, that's true.
David? Thank you.
Thank you.
The kauri is of course the symbol that's on the Kaipara District Council mayoral chains, right beside the symbol of the chainsaw and the axe. Thank you, thank you. I'm not joking when I say that. And Louise, there is a kauri tree here for you. And that is from this council to, there's an opportunity for the next council, if you like, to acknowledge you, but this is an acknowledgement from this council for your service across the last 5 years. So thank you. Thank you. So at this point, that brings to an official end the valedictory speech section of this meeting. I'd like to thank you all again. And I think we should close with a waiata. I think it's appropriate to do that. And it's going to be an upbeat one rather than a sad one. All right, so I'd like you all to please rise and sing Tūtera Mai Ngā Iwi. Thank you. Tūtera mai ngā iwi o tātou, tātou e. Tūtera mai ngā iwi o tātou, tātou e. Whai a te maramatanga, me te aroha e nei, ki a tātai. Ia kotahira, tātou, tātou e, tātou, tātou e. Ia wahi! Parakia. Kia tauna manakitanga a te mea ngaro, ki runga ki teina a tātou. Tia hua makihikihi. Kia toi te kupu, toi te mana, toi te araha, toi te reo Māori, tihei Māori ora.
Oi.